So I do welcome you to this nesting program, and I do wish for each one of you to bring and to receive all the beauties that we all carry along. As the title says, nesting is in embryology is a point in which in these early days we make a pause in safety, hopefully, and reflect on what is going to be our next step. How are we going to develop? How are we going to evolve? And this is what we'll try to do, starting or using my latest book, Mother, Me, the Other, as a tool to expand. So, in the title of the book, I play with mother, putting it as M dash other, and suggesting that the other is me, or me, I am in the other. So the first thing we are going to talk about is singularity, a term which is in physics. Well, there is a lot of science in the book. But what is singularity in physics? In physics, general relativity, because then we'll move on to quantum physics. In general relativity, a singularity refers to a point. So I go back to general relativity and singularity, which is a point where the laws of physics do not work, break down. Typically, it is a point where density becomes infinite. Space-time curvatures become infinite. You have heard black holes. So black hole singularity, what is it? You understand it as the center, which is in its black hole, in which all mass collapses. And all mass, can we imagine the totality of mass in an infinite universe collapses into an infinite dense point? And of course, you have heard about Big Bang as the beginning of our existence as cosmos. This is another example of singularity, the Big Bang singularity. The universe is thought to have begun as one point, a point of infinite density, of infinite temperature before expanding. But scientists in physics do not truly understand what happens at singularities. So they resort to mathematical artifacts. And this only makes it very clear to us that our current theories are just limited. So, are we going to stop there? No. More scientists, different scientists, started looking further on. They entered quantum physics. Others looked into cosmology. And in quantum cosmology, there are models like no boundary proposals. Hawkins, for example, suggested that. What does this insinuate? The universe might not begin with a classical singularity. But how? They say, Hawkins says, it was a smooth quantum transition. No violence, no abrupt experiences. Everything being one point, a monad, resonates with ideas which we find in other fields under titles like non-locality and entanglement. You remember the term entanglement. Perhaps you know it under a different name. The atoms that are in love. Remember the experiment when two particles are sent out or asked or made to go out of one opening, and they try to see what is their behavior, and what we see is that they are connected despite the distance, despite the time. This is more or less entanglement, particles connected across space instantly, suggesting a deep unity. Although what we see is variety, multiplicity. Let's go to the philosophers. In Leibniz theories, a monad is simple, indivisible, and foundational unit of reality. Indivisible. What is indivisible? Can't be divided. Or in Greek, atmito or atomo. This is the individual, cannot be divided. It's a whole. It's foundational unit, simple foundational unit. Democritus and other ancient, let's say, scientists of the antiquity already talked about this before microscopes or telescopes or whatever technology we developed in the recent years. And it's interesting that our language speaks about individuality, individuation, individual. You are, I am a whole. I am a monad. Not necessarily a physical atom, but a soul, a unique point of perspective. But let's reflect on that. What happens with monads? How do they behave? And monads don't interact directly, but they reflect the entire universe in themselves. Everything emerges with the internal unfolding of these units. This brings us to another thought. Reflect, mirror. Well, you certainly know holograms. And what happens with the holograms? The whole is reflected in a part. The monad is reflected, or the universe, everything is reflected in a part. What is this part? Now me and Luisa and Katya and each one of us. And not only humans. Everything means the sand and the water and the animal and the branches of the trees and the leaves and everything that has ever existed, even in distant galaxies we may never visit. In complexity, we often find the idea of emergence from unity. That from a single, simple rule or a simple principle or a simple source, complex systems emerge. What the best example from a zygote, you became who you are. And I did the same. This echoes the monad in a very dynamic, despite the biology, a very dynamic way. So what is a monad? Think of unborn child. Is an unborn child a blank slate? Perhaps it is not. Certainly it is not. It is a living singularity. A point of origin containing infinite potential, not yet differentiated by culture, by the school teachers, these or each one of them will meet, or history, or the familiar or national or historical environment, or even language, or the trips, or whatever friends they will come up with, but already carrying the potentiality of everything. Just like Big Bang or the cosmic singularity. Every child begins from a point of wholeness and will unfold from the monad into complexity. The human embryo mirrors the laws of cosmos, symmetry, polarity, emergence, differentiation among them, a lot. It reflects, its human embryo reflects ancient rhythms, spirals, fractals, flows, evolves following patterns, the same patterns we see in galaxies, the sea cells that we gather at seaside, the ferns in the forests. The singularity of the unborn child becomes the portal through which universal intelligence expresses itself in form. In you, Bettina, the stars are being remembered. In your becoming, the cosmos becomes human again. And following a Leibniz idea, the child is not just developing physically. The child, the unborn child, then born and growing, is already a center of awareness, a monad uniquely reflecting the whole, a perspective from which the entire cosmos is viewed anew. And this affirms personhood from conception, or is it too late? Katja, you are not just part of the world. You are the world, looking back at yourself with new eyes. But why? How? The singularity, there was a moment when it resisted stillness. It was a very crucial moment because the moment that the singularity, the monad, came up with resistance, that specific moment, the universe expanded. Cells divide by tension, polarity emerges, and dialogue appears. Prenates push, twist, explore. Their very formation is a dance with resistance. Our Earth is a planet of unfolding monads, where every being is a singular window into the whole. Present life is nothing but a journey from unity, one, to multiplicity, and eventually back to conscious unity. Can you trace the breath, the pulse, and this infinite pattern? So let's move to Pythagoras. And in Pythagorean thought, monas or monad is the origin of all things, the source from which numbers, harmony, and creation flow. Was not a number. One was not a number. Monad was not a number. One is something else. It is one that holds the potential for everything. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, and then we have more. From the monad now comes the dyad. But the monad is the dot, the center of a circle. And when the dot, the center, the monad, wants to meet the self, reflects on the periphery. And then the reflected center on the periphery creates the dyad. The other is nothing but a point on the periphery of a circle that reflects back to the center what the center sends out. Can you imagine the symbolism? The center of a circle is not just a point. It's an entity, it's a monad. Thickness, unity. Different aspects of it, different things of this everything are reflected outside. And this creates the periphery. The monad is not just mathematical. It is the first cause, the heart of being, the unity behind all. Prenatal life. From the zygote, life unfolds. In cosmic storytelling, from the one spark, thunder, or whatever, stars were born. And in human consciousness, from the one, the many perceive themselves. So time for the first song.
Before your fingers, before your toes, you shimmered in silence, where mystery grows, a dot full of wonder, no bigger than this, yet holding the stars and the sun in a kiss. You twirled like a spiral, you danced into form, with oceans inside you, and thunder and storm. The same spark that started the cosmos in flight was curled up inside you, a flame full of light. Not empty, not small, not waiting to be, but ancient and knowing, a vast tiny sea. You are not just part of the world that we see, you're the world becoming. Through you it is we. You began as the one, the start of the song, where silence and numbers have danced all along, a hum that became all the things we now see. From one came the many, from stillness came we. The monad, they say, holds the world in its seed. It sings without sound, and it grows what we need. You were once that whisper, that circle of grace, now beating and blooming in time and in space. Not empty, not small, not waiting to be, but ancient and knowing, a vast tiny sea. You are not just part of the world that we see, you're the world becoming. Through you it is we.
But is this nothingness nothing? We heard that the child is nothing, comes from nothing. The world came out from nothing. But what is this nothing, this nothingness? In many ancient and philosophical traditions, including Pythagoreans, the Taoists, pre-Socratic theorists, nothing is not nothing. But in void and in this kind of absence, there is a fulfillment, let's say, fullness is the word. There is a quiet fullness of the unformed that precedes being. It is the pause before the first heartbeat. The darker soil where the seed rests before sprouting. The space between the notes in music, and this allows harmony. The cosmic stillness before light emerged. Nothingness is expectant. Isn't this the word we use? Remember the title of an old book, What to Expect When Expecting? Playing with this expect. The unborn child does not come from nothing, but from a mystery that looks like nothing to our eyes because we cannot see the cells, sperm and egg, that get together to create the zygote, invisible to the eye, the unknown before conception. Where was this been? Most of the times you hear this question. You're asked that question. Mom, where did I come from? Perhaps you were asked the question by Luisa Bettina, maybe, and perhaps you offered her an answer. The non-material aspects, soul, intention, memory, destiny, information, all of these things come from nothing, shaping everything. Dear Irini, before you were cells and biology, you were silence. Before you had a body, you were a song, not sung, not even hummed, just waiting to become. Nothingness allows the emergence of a form, the flow of creativity, and the birth of relationship. Because only when there is space, not being, can there be an encounter. In the beginning, there was not light, not even darkness. There was simply space, a breath not yet taken, a dream not yet dreamt.
Before there was heartbeat or sparkle or skin, there was something like nothing but full deep within. Not empty, not lonely, just quiet and wide, like stars still asleep on the dark ocean's tide. Before there were questions, before any name, you swam in a silence that never felt shame. And that is the place where your journey began. Not nowhere, my dear. Before there was heartbeat or sparkle or skin, there was something like nothing but full deep within. Not empty, not lonely, just quiet and wide. Before there was earth or sky or sea, there was a quiet that whispered to be. Not dark, not light, not day, not night, just a soft still breeze, holding all in its mind. You came from that silence, that vast gentle space, where time doesn't tick and there's no need to race. Before there was heartbeat or sparkle or skin, there was something like nothing but full deep within. Not empty, not lonely, just quiet and wide. Not a place of nothing, but a field full of dreams, where stars are still seeds and rivers are streams. Ooh. Before there was heartbeat or sparkle or skin, there was something like nothing but full deep within. Not empty, not lonely, just quiet and wide. Not a place of nothing, but a field full of dreams, where stars are still seeds and rivers are streams.
So let's have a pause here and ask you to offer one sentence that could resonate with our conversation. You are free to choose anything, how you feel at the moment, a thought that you make, a wish, a reflection, anything. How about you, Katya? Would you like to begin?
Thank you. Yeah, I just not sure if I can describe it exactly, but it's just like I feel really kind of like the connection to somewhere, which I never kind of when you've been a younger child, maybe then you had that connection, and it's just like I felt like kind of I was just there where I've been once before.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Luisa?
Yeah, for me, I think there's a lot of connectedness with through space and time, and different varieties in experiences and qualities, and really finding the balance or the challenge of the atom, the individual, and the connectedness at the same time, and being able to really not only hold potential, but to kind of give birth to it in the sense of, yeah, birthing the different me's as well, like the different parts of me's, and also letting go of old versions of me to give space to new versions that might arise.
Mm.
Um,
You did that every moment. Thank you, Luisa. Thank you. Irini.
Hello there to all. Um, I'm going to say nesting. This is the what I choose, and this is important to me now because all these philosophical and cosmological journey that you you took us. Made me try to squeeze my mind and understand, try to find the word in Greek on how to say nesting. And I found something that we do not use in the new Greek language. In it, it's το παρέμφατο, φωλιάζει.
Mm.
Sorry for the rest that you did not understand, but it's nesting. But this is mind-blowing for us as Greeks, because if you really see and study the word, not only the word, but just the letters with the specific order, it's more than mind-blowing. It starts with the letter phi, which is a cosmological law on itself. And it continues. The second letter is the last letter, omega, mega, oh great. I can say it in English. And this is the great door to the unknown, to the cosmos itself. And then there is the L, which creates a flow. So just for the first three letters, you can understand that with the harmony of the phi and from the door of the cosmos and the unknown, there is a flow that makes me find my nest.
Mm.
It's incredible. Really, thank you. Thank you, my teacher.
Thank you, Irini. Thank you. You added something really very special. Perhaps will be given the chance to expand on that. Thank you. Bettina.
Looking forward to that. I mean,
Yeah.
So for me thank you, Olga, for this philosophical and poetic talk. This is beautiful. For me came the nothingness shaping everything.
Mm.
This is it's different than the expression, the field of possibilities. It's different. So the nothingness as entity already, and then a bit like the Vedic wisdom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I missed the resistance. That was interesting what you said about the resistance, but I didn't get that.
We'll continue, don't worry, and we'll come back to the resistance.
Mhm.
Let's embrace it.
I will.
Because resistance is expansion. a possibility, it leads to expansion. Don't fear it. No. Thank you, Bettina.
Thank you.
Eleni. Eleni, your sound is not good.
Now it's better?
Yes.
Is it better? Okay, because I have an external speaker. Okay, well, saying hello everybody and hi Olga. Thank you for this trip you led us. The phrase that comes to me is that I am all and all is me. But at the same time, I realize that this is a consciousness that is, I'm a part of this consciousness and we are all part of this consciousness. But now I'm like a drop inside this ocean that I can feel myself, but I still have access to this greater consciousness that we are all included. And I realize that we forget this in the way of the Western life and all the philosophical basis of the Western life, what individualism. We focus too much on the drop and we forget the ocean.
Yeah.
And with your work, now your how you led us, I can feel the ocean also. And I think this provides a lot of healing to the Western soul. And because we're deprived of this connection with the ocean, we suffer so much. So thank you again for reminding us.
Thank you, Eleni.
We also have an ocean.
The drop into the ocean. Right. From singularity to duality. The zygote is a singularity again. But look at this. Sperm, singularity. Egg, singularity. The sperm meets the egg, or the sperm singularity reflects on the egg. And at the same time, the egg singularity reflects on the sperm. And they meet and they become a dyad. We call it a couple, marriage, relationship. And then they do something. Let's not describe it at the moment. And then a zygote appears. And this is the triad, the third. And then this zygote that appears, which is the third, the triad, becomes a singularity. And from singularity, something will continue to expand. The zygote, a single-celled organism formed from the union of egg and the sperm, is a whole being, unique, complete. Very soon, the first division, the first cleavage. It's not waiting for the first cleavage to take place. There is no stop. The motion is always, remember, smooth transition. No stop, non-stop. And in this first division of the zygote into two cells, is not a moment of losing, becoming less. It is a moment of becoming. It is the moment when multiplicity arises from unity. It is not fragmentation. It is just differentiation. Jaap van der Wal and other phenomenological embryologists speak of it as a gesture. The human being is not made by cells, he says. The human being expresses self through cellular activity. That first division is the first expression of polarity, the tension, dear Bettina, the dance between self and the other, inner and outer, back and front, one and two. And the embryo will continue to unfold via symmetry and asymmetry, creating the body's left and right sides, top and bottom, inside, outside, all rooted in this original dual gesture. In cosmology, the Big Bang represents a singularity, a state where time, space, energy, all of them, perhaps more than we just mentioned, were one without distinction. And from this singularity, space-time and matter emerged, creating the duality of observer and observed, energy and mass, wave and particle. Quantum physics dances on this edge constantly. A quantum system can exist in a state of superposition. Superposition is a state where many possibilities exist simultaneously until an observation collapses it into one state. And this collapse creates a kind of duality between the knower and the known, the inside and the outside, the potential and the form, the center and the periphery, me and the other. It mirrors the transition from potentiality in the prenate to form, to birth, or even cell division. In Pythagorean philosophy, the monad is unity, divine origin, unmanifest. The dyad is otherness. Actually, Pythagoras sees the dyad as another monad, the monad of the genus. Because in dyad, we have the beginning of a genus. And this is a group, not one, but it is a monad in another way. So the dyad is otherness, difference, many. And the In the between, there is the tension. And from this tension comes the triad. What is the triad? The reconciling principle. We call it relationship. We call it motion, even emotion. We call it harmony or the golden rate or balance or beauty, kalos, which is also kalosini, goodness, gentleness, no violence. Despite the tension, there is harmony. The reconciling principle. Then Plotinus, Neoplatonics, he said that from the one comes the intellect, mind, nous. And from the intellect, mind, nous, comes the soul. One intellect, soul. One mind, soul. Triad. So the soul in Plotinus' thinking is the reconciling principle between oneness, monad, and the mind, which is the reflection of the monad on the periphery, the dyad. The Trinity, so well appreciated in Christianity. Trinity is the reconciling principle. It describes this process, an unfolding from absolute singularity into awareness. Nous, dyad, awareness. And then into life and motion or soul. And in Taoism, the Tao gives birth to one. One gives birth to two. Two gives birth to three. And three gives birth to the 10,000 things. Unfolding from unity to multiplicity, again anchored in the idea of a sacred shift from the unmanifest to polarity, yin and yang. In phenomenology, these modern thinkers describe the emergence of self-awareness in humans as a kind of duality within unity. I and not I. Bettina and non-Bettina. I and not I arise together. The prenate's growing sense of touch, heartbeat, and being touched is a continuous dialogue between one and two. The story begins, the relationship begins, and consciousness begins. The unborn child is not becoming separate from the universe, but differentiated so it can experience relation, rhythm, and reflection. Let's listen to the last song for the day.
From the silence, you shimmered, you spiraled, you grew from nothing and everything that once held you true. You carried the hush of the stars in your chest and found in a heartbeat a new kind of nest. Now earth wraps around you with oceans and air, but still in your center, that stillness is there. For even in movement and breath and in birth, the memory stays of the place before earth. You began as the one, whole and complete, a silent sun with no sky at your feet. But deep in your stillness, a whisper was true. To know the one fully, it must become two. Two cells in a dance, then four, then eight. Not breaking apart, but opening the gate. From unity's cradle, you welcome the thread that weaves all of life, the seen and the said. From the silence, you shimmered, you spiraled, you grew from nothing to everything that once held you true. You carried the hush of the stars in your chest and found in a heartbeat a new kind of nest. But deep in your stillness, a whisper was true. To know the one fully, it must become two. You are a circle round and whole, with silence at your sacred pole. Another comes, another sphere, not to erase but to draw near. When your centers softly align, a door appears outside of time, not just where edges gently press, but where your stillness meets her yes. In that place, no fear can stay, just two stars showing each the way. And when one leaves, the space remains, an echoing, ringing, gentle refrain. For once two circles share their soul, they never again are only whole. They carry the trace, the mirrored start, a second center in the heart. But deep in your stillness, a whisper was true. To know the one fully, it must become two. From the silence you shimmered, you spiraled, you grew from nothing and everything that once held you true. You carried the hush of the stars in your chest and found in a heartbeat a new kind of nest.
Questions for you to reflect as we come to an end. Reflect on the circle. And then reflect on this sentence. To know me, to know one, I have to become two. And think of marriage and partnerships and friends, and all the others that reflect me. To know one, I have to become two. So that is the end for the day. Hope that you get something nice to carry along